What up? What up? We are back with the Maniaco podcast. They tried to hold us down, man. They tried. They didn't want us coming back with the Maniaco podcast, but we had to show them up. We're back. Here we are. What's been new? It's been a minute.
It's been a bit since being on here. I've been in New York, did some touring. I've been doing my
Been on the road?
Yeah, I've been on the road doing some of my touring stuff, and it's been good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I almost missed my flight, actually. Coming back from New York, there was the Madison Square Garden Trump rally while I was trying to get to my shuttle to bring me to the airport, and I could not get around these barricades, so I ended up hopping a few of them. Secret Service shot at me. It was like a whole ordeal.
Wow. It was wild, huh?
I made it. Yeah, it was good. I made it. Made it back to Detroit, Michigan, and
that was the Nazi rally that you were at.
It was pretty festive. I was partaking a little bit in some of the shenanigans. Certain phrases and slogans that people were saying were catching on to me very quickly. The advertising was working, and
wow.
I was an easy customer. But I couldn't stay for the whole thing, had to make my flight. And so
that was a key turning point in Trump's campaign, I think, when you were hopping barricades.
Yeah, nobody really discussed me that much. They discussed a lot of Tony Hinchcliffe, but they did not discuss me.
Is that the guy who made a Puerto Rico joke?
He did, yes. Tony Hinchcliffe from Kill Tony, roast comic who is apparently taken more seriously than ever once it's convenient for certain people. So, yes.
What do you think that does to his career? Do you think that helps it?
It gets a little interesting. I don't know. I think for some people distance themselves from him, actually. Hopefully not his real close friends. But no, I think he does fine. I don't know if it affected any of his shows.
Nobody cares.
I don't think anybody cares. I don't think it affected Kill Tony.
It's all theater. The outrage.
Yeah.
I like the internet always wins. They're always like, right after that, the day after, there's like 20 videos of like groups of people in Puerto Rico. We stand behind you, Trump. We love you, Trump. Yeah. Puerto Rico stands behind you.
I think people in Puerto Rico realize that there's an issue probably with with the whole. I mean, this is Rogan it is his boy, but he said that the origin of that joke was from a place where like Puerto Rico has a trash issue, and Tony developed that joke because it's like awareness to the issue of garbage being dumped on the island and all that stuff. So yeah, it wasn't like to say that Puerto Ricans are trash. It's like the place has a trash issue.
But even if he did, he's a comic. Who cares?
Yeah. Not only a comic, a roast comic.
He's a roast comic.
He was on Tom Brady's roast this past year. Apparently he did a big one. I mean, whenever he's on Kill Tony, he's going after people. He's very quick-witted and smart. So, I mean,
yeah, we haven't been on here since before the election. I thought it was a little anticlimactic. I think there was expected to be like a lot of pushback and outrage on Trump winning. And I think most people just kind of accepted it pretty quick and didn't make a big deal about it.
No, it took a day of crying, and then little by little, like he selects his people who are going to be part of his cabinet, and then people complain, and then they get over it. It's like
there were a couple of good Facebook posts. I'm so sickened by this country and this and that, and
the same people who said they were going to leave and move, they seem to still be here. So.
They're still here. We'll get them next time. And I got engaged.
Yeah, I heard about that.
That was, thank you. That was
married.
Huh?
To be married.
Engaged to be married. Yes. It was a big decision.
It was? It was a big decision, meaning there was a back and forth about making
it is a big decision, but there was absolutely I didn't spend 1 minute debating it. I didn't even pray about it. No, I didn't. You know what? I thought to myself the week before I got the ring, I was like, I should sit and pray about this and make sure it's right. And the answer was clear as day, man. I said, there's no conflict. I don't need to pray about it. I already had the answer. I didn't need to. When I pray about things, it's because I don't know the answer. I need to listen for it. I didn't have any inclination that I needed to take time with it or think about it. It was a spiritual decision for me. I just felt like I'm either going to continue on what I'm doing and it's either going to lead to me being single, or I'm going to be like this forever and just sleep with somebody who I'm not like actually fully committed to.
You think that would be what you not going for a proposal would end up leading to?
Being single?
Yeah.
I think if one partner wants to get married and the other doesn't, it's going to cause problems in the relationship.
Yes.
Yeah.
If one is holding that kind of very strongly in and has questions about where that person's faith is to the relationship, especially, then that will lead to it. Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Yeah, but it's been pressure free. It's been good, and I did it on my time, and it's all felt right. There's been it's been great. No second guessing the feeling or the decision, and I think it's good. I think that committing and my vows to be with someone is going to bring me closer to God, and I want peace in my life.
Do you think that being married will affect High Stim Saturday?
Never.
You can say, all right, I just want that to be on record for everybody.
It's on record.
Because I'll have to point this video out at 7 minutes in.
My fiance has been a big supporter and proponent of High Stim Saturday. She leaves the house. She leaves the garage. She asks me when we're working out every week. When's your brother coming over? What time you guys working out? I've never had any High Stim Saturday pushback.
That's all I care about.
I don't envision it.
All right. Good.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm also engaged, that people might not know. And it's going really well.
Tell us about that.
It's bringing me closer to God.
That's good.
And yeah, it's actually to God that I'm engaged. And
that's the best kind.
Yeah.
That's the best kind. That's where it starts.
We did it in Miami. I surprised him. And
wow.
It's really good.
God's in Miami too. I don't know if, he's in New York too. It's hard to find him there sometimes, but he's there.
He was not at the rally that I was at, but he he didn't seem to be that present in that rally.
Yeah.
But no, that's cool. Everything's good. The new year is approaching. It's early December 4th, which means that people are going to be thinking about, I don't know. I don't think this is an old idea. I think everybody's still, not everybody, but it's still a big thing to have New Year's goals and resolutions and things like that, which I support. Is
that a real thing though? Like gyms are really busy around that.
Yeah,
is that an actual? Sure. That's a real thing.
That's a real thing.
Wow.
Gyms get larger membership. They get more accounts during that time. And then usually what they see is by February, March, a lot of cancellations too.
When I first started the channel, a few supplement companies are like, yeah, January will be a great time for you to kind of promote and review fat burners, because that's when, people want to shed the weight.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if you think about it, it's not just the new year. It is the new year. So that equals in your mind this fresh start that you have all these possibilities with, which I get. But then you have something that's kind of pushing you towards that, which is like the holiday time where you're stuffing yourself and you're eating kind of irresponsibly. And that's fine. It's like, it's a time that you're supposed to enjoy.
So by New Year's, that's kind of done, right? Thanksgiving's done. Christmas is done. Yeah. So you don't have any immediate reason to cheat, right? That's the point, right? Like the Christmas, it's all out of the way and time to move forward. You have like a solid 3 months before a holiday.
Yeah. I mean, and what I would say, I would include New Year's Day on being a day that a lot of people have off from work, right? And stuff. So
it's a cheat day.
They're probably enjoying it. Right. So don't think of starting on the 1st. Think of starting beforehand to make up for what you're going to be eating on the 1st. so that you can don't get in your head about I'll have to wait till next year.
We'll start the 1st of next year.
Right. It's like, no, don't do that. Start a little earlier so that you can work the kinks out.
I
That's
already
always
screwed up.
Yeah. I always have, I have a habit of picking my nails and stuff. And usually I do come around to it. I've had months and months of growing them before where they ended up looking pretty good. And then, man, it's like it gets away from me, the conscientiousness of it. And
Do you are you one that thinks about New Year's and makes goals?
Yeah, I do.
know.
Yeah, and not necessarily goals. If I'm going to make a goal, it needs to be pretty specific, pretty easy to manage and chart and measure and all of that. So this year, I haven't thought about it yet. I do know that this habit of messing with my nails, for instance, as silly as that might sound, that's something that I've dealt with my entire life. And
I don't think it's silly. I think it's pretty common.
Maybe. I just know that I don't like it in myself, and that I am going to be making it not just a goal for the new year. I've already started it, and I'm 3 or 4 days of being very, very vigilant of not doing it. And
is it one of those things where if you go long enough and you've gone through the detox period, essentially, it's just easy after that?
No, the reason being is because when it comes to the nails, what I've noticed is if something is uneven or something is sticking out, it makes it very, very tempting for you to correct it.
So it's an obsession.
So it's really important, to keep them clean, to keep them filed, to keep them neat.
I was going to say, why don't you get manicures?
Yeah, well, once they grow, that's the part where, the 3 to 4 weeks need to happen for them to grow out enough for you to go.
Maybe if you're investing in yourself and spending money on it, you'll be less likely to screw up something you're investing in.
Right. Not just investing like that, but it's they're smooth, they're clean. You won't want to mess them up at that point.
Well, is there a core reason you do it? It's
initially so hard for me to tell. I think a lot of it is more out of boredom than it is out of when people think it's a nervous, anxious habit.
Yeah.
I think it's how people, especially kids, turn to their phone when they're bored. They just look down. It's that's something easy for me to stimulate myself with.
Yeah.
And do.
Yeah. Is it satisfying?
Yeah, sure. But then it's like eating something, sugary or fatty. It's it's satisfying, but then afterwards you're like, shit, I screwed up. I didn't want to do that. I don't like the look of this. And
does it open you up for infection, having the nails?
I've never
Not
had
really.
It. And I go low, Yeah. But no, I've never. My immune system's pretty awesome. Knock on wood. Yeah. Resolution, start them beforehand. That's the advice that I have. Don't start on the 1st. It's kind of a setup. Get some of the kinks out. If it's to join a gym, if it's to try to get to the gym blank amount of times a week, work out this many times a week, you got to start that now in December so that you can see what's realistic, what's manageable, what's the right expectation to have. And then you can go into the new year real smooth and have it all worked out, all the kinks and stuff. So you got to get on that now. That's what I would say. If you want it, start now, work it out. And then once the new year comes around, you'll be much smoother sailing.
It says here that early in the year, about 87% of people who make New Year's resolutions say they've kept at least some of them within a month of the year. By the end of the year, only 8 to 16% of people keep all their resolutions, while 44% keep some, but not all. And as many as 80% of resolutions are broken by the second week of February.
Yeah, that could be an indication of a few things, one of which I think is doing too much at once, probably.
Yeah.
Trying to make too many changes at one time, not being specific enough or realistic enough.
Well, I don't know always too many, but most people who want resolutions want big changes too. They're big changes. If you're, obviously we deal with a lot of obesity in the country. If you want to go from being obese to being fit, it's a big lifestyle change.
Mm-hmm.
And people maybe, I don't know, maybe they haven't suffered enough. Maybe they don't know how. Maybe they're just not willing to be uncomfortable. Maybe they haven't written down their plan. They don't really have a plan of action. It sounds good.
So for the most part, that's what it is. It's a lot of fear-based stuff that keeps you from doing it, because if you don't have a plan of action or an education on what you're going to be doing, then you go in blind, and that's a very scary prospect. And it should be, because if you don't have a plan and you walk into this place with all these new things around you, then you're not going to know what to do. So that's why it's good to listen, I'm a trainer, and I've had it where many people have contacted me because they want 1 or 2 sessions so that I can show them a routine, show them how to do certain exercises, and then they say they want to go do it on their own. I have not followed up with those people who have done that with me to see if they've actually kept up on their own. That's not really, I wish they would reach out to me and say, hey, I really appreciate everything. I'm doing great. And I've done this all. I've continued to do this on my own. I have a feeling that's not the case a lot of the time. So that's why I think it's cool to have and invest in a trainer who will keep you accountable for at least a while, until you really have the drive to go, and the drive and the confidence to be able to go on your own and do it yourself.
I think they just aren't willing to let go of that money thing. I think they're willing to shoot themselves in the foot to save a buck. And they completely sabotage, because money is I'm talking about people who have money, people who are totally comfortable, well off from our area, whatever. They cannot let go of that money thing, where they just are willing to just sabotage to save that, to think they're winning. That whole thing, teach me how to do it and I'll do it myself. And you're just not willing to invest in yourself. You're not willing to let go of that money thing to reach your goals.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, with all this said, I guess it's a good opportunity for me to say, if anybody is looking to, New Year's resolution just brings it to mind, but it could just be the time you're at in your life where you're trying to, get comfortable with a routine, and you either want training regularly, or you just want somebody who can start you off by giving you a routine and show you how to do things, send you videos, send you a plan and something specific, then message Ari and GGA.
Yeah, you should. My brother's not like one of these
I take
online coaches with some cookie cutter app that he throws you on.
I'm also, aside from being my recent engagement announcement, I am actually pretty single, and I take a lot of time for people. I'll sit on my couch when I'm not doing, my regular day of work, and I'll be writing out workout plans for people and help.
Sometimes you're too generous, bro.
Probably.
Honestly.
No,
I've seen you when you used to live with me. You kind of would you'd give some free therapy to your clients and stuff in the garage. You're very generous with that. It's good. You have a good heart.
Yeah, I wanna,
they come to you and they want to talk.
Yeah, I give them a lot of opportunity to do that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But so that's the deal.
My goals are generally always the same. I never have really concrete, I want to get my physique displaced. I don't really have physique goals or anything.
What about goals for your life right now? Obviously
my goals are always be less stringent about your routine, stay out of your head more and let yourself enjoy and sit still more. It never really happens.
I don't know if that's true.
It is.
You go out to brunches now.
Yeah.
On certain days. You use hot sauces that you never used to do.
Yeah.
You've added things to keep added and taken maybe things away that allow you to be a little looser.
I try, yeah. And then the other thing is I guess it's pretty grow spiritually, get closer to God, pray more, things that are kind of just always my goals, that I always, they're consistent, but I've never had any specific physique goals I guess the one time we did the photo shoot in Florida, that was the one time.
To me, a specific physique goal for us would be more like, I want to get as ripped as I can by this time.
Right.
And that just means usually that just means for us, our workouts are always the same pretty much. It's staying consistent on the diet without cheating on the weekends then. For
This summer, I was like, I want to get under 170 pounds. I didn't get it.
Yeah, right. You did not get there? Okay.
I didn't hit it.
For my photos this last time around, I got to 164 or so.
Yeah.
And
I got like right there. And
I was ripped up.
Yeah.
For sure. I know where I need to be to be ripped. But I hope that along the way I'm building more muscle so that I can actually be a little heavier and still be ripped as the years go on. So maybe next year in 2025, if I want to do photos again, I'll be 167, 168, and be, just as lean, just as defined, as I was this last go around. Hopefully I can build, a couple pounds of muscle every once in a while. And yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I've had people ask me, like, do you think that you could stay sober if you got off TRT and all your muscle went away? Like, that's been a question people have asked me. And
I don't think that one has to do, with the other, but I could see it being a bummer to lose.
Well, I think a lot of people from the channel and from Instagram, they only know me as somebody who is a workout guy. They don't really know that I got sober before I had any muscle. I had already recovered and been sober before, I was going through the steps and stuff. And so I'm confident, like in really the deepest place in my heart, that if there's a day I have to get off testosterone or it's my time to get off and I have to lose a bunch of muscle mass, if that's what happens when I'm off testosterone, I don't know if that will happen, but I'm sure it could, that it's just my time to lose it.
Is there a reason? Are you talking about children or anything along those lines?
I think the ship has sailed.
Well, then there's no probably good reason unless something happened prostate related. But
yeah, if I'm just saying anything unforeseen, or maybe one day I just wanted to stop injecting myself with it and see how my body responds. I don't know.
Do you think that if you stopped injecting yourself with testosterone that you'd start injecting yourself with estrogen instead?
I think I would let my body do what it does and see what it would do. I don't know.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Okay. Like Cali Muscle did.
He's off for good. I don't know if he stays on anything. These people online, I always take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, who knows? When you have all that vascularity still, it's like, is that just something that once you did enough drugs that it stays with you?
I think there is a thing about once you've built like very deep muscle, like over years and years, quality muscle and mature, it stays with you. I mean, a good amount. I mean, even if you lose.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, Ruben's still ripped. I mean,
right. But then you look at Arnold Schwarzenegger and it's like, he's not, I mean, he's older, don't get me wrong, but like you see him pumping and it's like, he does not have the muscle that makes you be like, oh, I'm still impressed.
Didn't he go vegan too, though, or something? Or no? He was on that Game Changers saying he was vegan.
That whole propaganda.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that, but I don't know anything about the truth to that. I mean, as far as...
No, it's BS. Eating meat is great. It's great.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. There's no doubt.
100%. Eating meat is great. Yeah. Eating steaks, you get so many just good nutrients and fats and amino acids. It's good for your hormones. Eggs are great. Yeah.
Eggs are for sure.
I don't eat nearly enough. They're great.
Yeah, they are. I might have some tonight, actually.
Yeah. So,
do you, I mean, so when it comes to placing working out with your sobriety, it obviously is helpful because it does give you some kind of outlet, some kind of energy release. And I guess it's one of those things that, I mean, you don't really know how you're going to be if you didn't have or you couldn't exercise again in your life. That would be especially very depressing given that you've had it before. Now, like you've been exercising for 10 years now. And then like, if that was taken away from you, that would be a very tough thing and a terrible thing. But then,
I trust in God.
Yeah. Really, I mean, at the end
I just trust in God. I trust that whatever gets thrown my way, God's going to carry me through like everything else. And if it's my time not to work out, I mean, I've thought about, man, there might be a time where if I get older, I could swim and not lift weights like I do now, and get the buzz that I really want too. I just love
Well, there's a certain
working out.
time for sure in your life where you might say, you know what, my priorities are different, and
Yeah.
I I know that I have the potential to think in such a way that is, I'm past where my prime could be. So now do I change up what I'm doing? And it's like, because I'm 34 now. By the time I'm what, 40, am I going to say, you know what, I don't want to lift like I have been? It's not as rewarding to me because I know that I'm past all my maximum abilities. So do I want to change what my goal is?
I think there's a balance. Like as we get older, it's important to keep our strength up,
For sure.
and for as we age. And but the other thing is, like the way we train, it's a lot of beating our bodies down, and it's hard. I mean, it's a lot of beating down your body, and I think the older you get, the more recovery. Hey, the older you get, the more you're going to have to prioritize recovery.
Probably. I want to say probably because I haven't experienced it personally, but I know other people do, and they say it enough where it's probably is true. But like, you and I are also relatively smart when it comes to lifting, to the point we're not doing 4 to 5 to 6 repetitions on things that we're truly beating up our body like a lot of people do. And I think that keeps you in the game a lot longer when you're hitting those uh, 10 to 12 rep sets, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah. I
I
just think
am.
that like longevity is important in the game, and you want to treat your body right so you can do this for as long as possible. And that's why I prioritize like rest weeks and like just those kind of things, just to try and give myself more time to heal up and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah.
important. Can you name an instance where like a specific instance where like a workout helped you through like a tough mental moment?
I mean, I don't know if it actually helped me during. I've been clinically depressed before, to the point where I was like at the gym in my head, anxious as all hell. Couldn't, I mean, and I wasn't necessarily getting the best feelings from working out. But what I'll tell somebody who's in that position, if I'm in therapy with them and they're depressed, it's like, yeah, but you can choose to be depressed at home in bed, or you can choose to be depressed at the gym. Which one do you think is going to get you to look at yourself in a better light? And maybe it did help in a way that I don't know how measurable it was. It certainly didn't feel like it was at the time, but I got to imagine, like, yeah, if you can even give yourself a half a percentage to look at yourself as a better person with how you're living, then do it. And that means like doing the things that you know you should be doing. And so I was still getting, it's funny, my energy felt super low, but my lifts were still pretty good. I was hitting, like, I hit 225 on the decline bench, which like had been at that time my max when I was in a state of like ultimate depression.
Yeah.
And I remember like noting that, like, whoa, even if you feel, because there's a story I think you tell yourself when you're in a depressed place, which is
Yeah.
like, you're tired, you don't have energy, you shouldn't do this, but your body is showing you that you actually do have more than your mind is telling you you do. And so I was hitting weights pretty well. I wasn't getting great like satisfaction from it. I wasn't feeling incredible. I didn't have a lot of like excitement and joy, but I think somewhere in there I knew that I was doing the right thing for myself, and that very well could have helped me get to that next level of getting out of that stage. So I'm glad that I continued to do it. It's at a point right now where I've been doing it for so long and so routines that I am not falling off. Like, no matter what state of mind, unless there's like, of course, there are circumstances that happen, you have to cancel because you have a family, emergency or this or that. But like, all in all, you're staying on. And it's part of my life. It's part of my routine. And if I don't do it, that's going to make me feel a lot worse.
Let me ask you this. Let's say someone's brand new and they came to you and they're like, look, man, I want to incorporate this in my life. How long do you think they would have to train before it's just ingrained in them, like you're talking about? Like it's just like, I'm not falling off. This is part of my life. You think there's a...
I think you trusting that as like an outsider, like I would have to look at that person and be like, oh, you've been doing it for this long, you're on. But I think for them, for the person who's actually making the action, they can have a much stronger sense very quickly if they like it and it's going to be a part of their life. Like, I think it can take a couple of weeks for you to get into a routine where you're waking up at, you know, let's say this is new to you and you're starting to want to do it before work. So you're getting up at 5:30 and getting to the gym by 6:15. It's like, if you're doing that 4 or 5 days a week for 2 weeks, you might be in. I mean, that might be it. You're ready. You've created a routine for yourself and you're doing it and you're going. And that's a really exciting time. I think it's like one of the most exciting, is the most exciting time. If I recall, when I first started working out, getting into a routine and having the excitement of the potential of what I'm going to do to change my body, it's like that. There's a lot there. I freaked out once when I was going to take my first pre-workout. Somebody had told me about, I don't know if my first pre-workout experience might have been like Jack 3D. It really could have. There's potential that that was the first one. And I was looking at it like, is this going to change my life? I am terrified of ingesting this substance to take. Is like, am I taking drugs here? I guess I kind of was in a way. But like, I think it was my boy Mario, who was my first trainer. He's like, dude, stop thinking about this so much. It's a pre-workout. It's nothing. And I took it and I think I really liked it. And
what's not to like?
But what I'm trying to relay is like the excitement from all these new things that you introduce, because you very well, and I mean excitement from a naive place where you might overestimate what something can do to you. Like, when I started creatine and I was reading about it, I think I thought that that thing was just going to make me like ripped up and huge and lift heavy weights. And there was like a real like kiddie excitement about getting on these things. And when I started something, I was on it. Like, I didn't skip a beat.
Yeah, I remember that feeling when I would get all those Beverly supplements and I had a regimen with the powders and this and
that. Oh my God, could this be the thing that changes the game for me? Like, is this going to be that thing? And like, I like that excitement. That's cool. I mean, there's a naivety to it and a false expectation, but it's like, yeah, that's the stuff that keeps you like, or creates, I think, the structure and the routine that gets ingrained in you. Yeah.
I agree. I mean, look, it couldn't have been more. I love reviewing supplements and I look forward to trying something new or, seeing it's like, I've reviewed 500 pre-workouts. So it's like, all right, after a while, you kind of know what you're about to feel for the most part when you take something based on the label and the manufacturer and everything. But it's still fun. It still makes working out a fun, it adds an extra layer to the experience of the routine. And it's like when I used to get high, there was a, what's the word for it? Not a ceremony, but there was a whole regimen. A ritual, where you would do this and that, like in a negative
sacrificing lambs or something like that.
Pretty much just sacrificing lambs. Yeah. It was like real ritualistic and everything had to be exactly right and to the T and everything. And now, it's got to be like that with the working out. Like if we short ourselves, you and I do high volume training, we're not doing 1 or 2 sets less than we're set out to do. And it feels like the workout's not complete. We do 30 sets. If you're like, all right, we only did 29, we're done. I'd be like, we didn't finish. It's like everything has to be in the place. If if I have a meal prep and, like I'm short, a little bit or whatever, I'm extra or whatever, and eating it, I'm like, oh man, that's not right. It's not all in its exact place.
Yeah. No, you got to. I think it's important to create a standard for yourself. If you're not that anal about it, yeah, you can succeed, but you can also cause yourself to move the goalpost too easily, and that'll lead to falling off. So I think that having that high standard, obsession, high expectation is really good if you are serious about making changes in your life. And
Yeah, I
yeah,
agree. And back to sobriety, like I don't really see working out as some like or bodybuilding as some like real separate thing from sobriety. I see it as part of my life.
well, it is
Sobriety.
part of your life. It's the question is like, I mean, yeah, it's different though. The two are different for people. It's like they don't need to be they don't need to be part of somebody's life in order to stay sober, but I would say that it certainly can do nothing but help you.
Yeah, but like bodybuilding gives you a life of a very consciousness and a spirit, like a spiritual practicing restriction, not indulging in everything
I
you
would
see.
argue to say that mixed martial arts
Sure,
does
for
that
sure.
too. It's like
Absolutely.
something that's a practice of discipline, of sacrifice, of putting yourself out there in yeah, absolutely. It
Yeah.
all helps.
It's very hard to stay sober if you have nothing to live for, if you're not passionate about something,
Yeah. I think that it's
I
really
mean, you got to have things you're fired up about in life that drive you, that you just wake up and you love to do. That
yeah,
I'm not saying you can't stay sober otherwise, but it sure makes it difficult.
yeah,
I
you
mean, like
do.
you
There's
got to build a life that's so beautiful that nothing would get in the way of that. You wouldn't, I couldn't picture going back to getting high from this life. I mean, it's like you got to build something that's amazing.
yeah, and a lot of people, I'm thinking about like where does work fit into that kind of mindset? Like a lot of people do not like their jobs. And so I think that especially if you don't love your job, it's important to have something that you do love.
Sure.
And I'm not necessarily one to say you have to absolutely love what it is that you do and be passionate about that in the sense of work and what makes you income and money.
I don't believe that,
I
that
don't
you have to.
no, I don't think it. First of all, I don't think it's possible for everybody to do
No.
something that they love. So therefore, you have to supplement that with making sure that you are doing something that you love and have passion for.
But even if you don't love it, like as men, we have like
We need to work.
it's ingrained in us to like
That will keep.
it's ingrained in us to provide and it gives us purpose. Even if you don't love the way, if you're fulfilling that purpose to provide or start a family or do this, like that keeps you going.
It is not uncommon that somebody is looking so forward to retiring from whatever job that they have. And once they retire, they will soon realize that they have way too much time on their hands and they do not have the feeling of value anymore. So it's very
It's kind of
appealing.
like a sad thing to think about that you would wish so much time away to get to the point of retiring. Oh, I can't wait to retire. Like life is like should be great now.
Yeah, well, yeah, but of course, and I get waking up early in the morning is not an appealing thing. Sitting at a workspace, if it's a space that you're around other people who you don't like, if you're taking orders from a boss, whatever it is, I get that. The thing is that you better have a good understanding of is when you do eventually retire, you better have something set in place that is almost like a job in the way that you structure it, because otherwise you will have very little value in feeling that
I
life
agree.
and purpose in life. So like,
That's why billionaires, like people who don't need to work a day in their life, they're freaking workaholics. They keep working. They're freaking, they love it.
yeah. Or on the other hand of that, like people who are really wealthy, who aren't currently, making film projects or staying busy with their work because they're done with that job are miserable, and they'll start getting into trouble, right? I mean, you'll hear about people who have, you hear they have everything in the world and they're miserable and this and that. It's like, but they don't have everything in the world. They don't have structure. They don't have something to do every day that they're getting up for
Yeah,
with
the
like
most basic
the
fundamentals.
most basic thing, the most like,
Yeah, they're lacking.
yeah. And even if that's something like, listen, I know guys they've gotten into various habits, whether it's gardening or cooking or just staying busy with something that's going to give them a sense of value, because I think it's something that they can see continually getting better at.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that that's really important. Doing something that you can measure if you're getting better and better at it
Yeah.
gives you goals and gives you continual purpose. So, yeah.
If I had $1 billion right now, I think about it and I'd be like, all right, on one hand, it would change my life, of course, significantly. I mean,
No doubt.
maybe a new house and this, might have a crazy gym, I do this. But my daily structure and routine, I can't imagine I'd be wired differently to do nothing or just sit there
No,
in the
God,
pool
no. What
or,
is the money
yeah,
doing for you? It's
right.
not the
I'd
money.
still want to record YouTube videos and work out and meal and eat clean. Maybe I'd have a personal chef make the food, but I'd be like my daily structure would still be there.
And if anything, having money wouldn't make you want to sit more still. It might, in fact, make you want to do more,
Yeah.
like travel more,
Hmm.
do things that maybe you couldn't do before. Yeah, but still keeping the most basic important parts of your structure, which would be like working out, maybe even working out with a trainer, somebody who's going to push you like to your max,
Yeah.
hand you some weights and be a little, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's cool. I say that if I had all the money in the world, I would for sure my own gym that would be more significant than what I have now, as well as a chef, somebody to cook for me. And fortunately, there are, meal prep companies that you don't need to be a billionaire in order to utilize, somebody to cook for you and have your food there for you to pick up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I've looked into them and then I never pulled the trigger because I think to myself, there's something very,
Hmm?
there's something very powerful about creating, like making your own food. There's
Well,
something like,
the other question too is like, okay, so you stop doing that for yourself. What is it that you replace that time with? And is it something that's more productive or less productive than the cooking? That's a question that you got to ask yourself a lot of the time when something is appealing to save you time.
mhm,
It's okay, I save time by not having to do this, but what do I do instead? And does that get me into trouble? Does that not do anything positive for me at all?
right.
You can ask yourself those questions. And if you ask yourself the questions and actually come up with an answer, then you'll be guided to the right place. And I like meal prepping. It's for me, it's a lot quicker than yours. I think I move through it pretty fast. But is there an appeal to like picking up your food and having it all ready for you? Absolutely, there is. The thing that I would be in my head about is, yeah, but is it cooked the way that I have my expectation of? Do they use little sauces that I wouldn't like? Is it truly clean to my standards? Things like that. And so, therefore, I might stress more about that than it would actually help me with time saving or something.
Yeah.
And I don't want that as my trade off, because if I'm going to be in my head about that, then it's not worth it anyway.
Yeah.
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 When you've looked into the meal prep services, do you think that it is up to your standards in the sense of ingredients and
No.
how
No, I don't trust how they weigh it out. Number
okay.
one. I
Yeah.
think you're getting shorted. I think that they just cut a lot of corners too. From what I've seen, they're just, like I'm not scared of sodium like that anymore. But like I've seen like I looked at Clean Eats and like some of those meals like right there have 1,000 in one. Like
Yeah.
I don't want an excessive amount like I'm eating at a restaurant.
But I think what you're also showing there and pointing out is that if they're going to do it to your standard of clean, those meals are going to be even more expensive. And so they're trying to make it kind of like in the middle of the road, affordable, but also clean enough to the usual person's
Yeah,
standards. Not to
no
our.
one's doing anything to my standards except me, and I can't unless I watch them in the kitchen. I don't trust it anyway because and it's not it's just you're paying for convenience, but I weigh everything to the gram. Like I'm precise, and whether that's necessary or not, I enjoy it. I like being conscious and knowing what I'm consuming, and I like it.
Yeah.
It works for me,
No, it's
and
great.
I like it. For me to take 2 hours out of the week and meal prep, it's worth it.
Yeah,
It's
for
worth my
sure.
time.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
with you. Yeah.
And those little things you do over and over do make a difference in your physique when you're that precise, when you've done it for that long. It adds up. It builds over time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So December early here, what do you got going for your December? Anything to look forward to and things that you're up to?
Well, I'm just planning a wedding, so I'm trying to book a band and be done with that by tomorrow. And then what else? Oh, I'm going to Florida for a week.
Which part?
Naples. I'm staying with Dad,
No.
with the girls. And what else? That's about it. I got Kayla's birthday this weekend. Just good eating. That's about it.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Mm-hmm. It's a very nice time of year. We have not gotten that much snow here yet, but I'm sure some people have.
Just
So
trying to eat some more, and I've upped my macros a bit, and I could feel the difference definitely. I
hmm
was at like 17, 1800 all summer. Now I'm at like 2400. So those 600 a day, make hold me better,
right.
and trying to up it a little more. And my workouts have been excellent, and I
Good.
don't know, just here.
That's nice. Are you thinking that 2025 you're going to look for a new home potentially? Have you been doing that, checking the places
No,
out?
I haven't checked ever. I don't know. I
Just
don't know.
curious.
It seems like a lot to move. It's
It's a
like
lot. It's a lot.
I
Moving
don't
so.
know. Like I'd have to get a company to get like move all the gym equipment or something. Like even if I
Yeah.
did that, I'm
Yeah. Sure.
sure someone does that.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
heavy equipment. It's all put together and stuff.
It's something to inquire about when that time comes. But yeah, for sure, there are companies who do that, and if you pay the right price, they will come.
I
That's how
know.
that goes.
If I moved, I'd want to like put no effort in it.
I hear you. Yeah. Well, plenty of companies do it. It's how good of a job do they do? Do they take care of your items? Things like that.
For me to move out of this home, which I absolutely love and made into my own, it would have to be absolutely perfect for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got you.
And I'd
Cool.
have to have at least go to a 2 car to a 3 car garage for my gym.
I would think that would be a great idea.
Yeah.
Absolutely. For sure.
Yeah.
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 A bigger gym. That's
People
always
have been like, well, why don't you just set up the basement? I'm like, I'm not basement gym homie. I gotta have a garage.
garage is very nice for a gym. For sure.
It's my brand. It's
Yeah.
literally a business I'm running.
Yeah. I think if the right basement came along, it might.
How the heck would I be garage gym homie in a basement?
You started as Garage Gym Homie. It's like
You don't get to keep the
Lil
name.
Wayne became Wayne or something, right?
He's
So
still Lil Wayne.
you could be just Jim Homie,
I can't be Jim homie.
Lil Jim Homie.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, man, let me ask you this. Are there people who struggle with anxiety, depression, or stress? Is there any kind of specific like exercises you would have them do, or just all around strength training?
Well, breathe. I mean, first of all, if we're talking exercises as far as like how to help you when you're feeling stressed, I mean, breathing exercises like that. But if you're talking about like gym type of stuff or strength related or cardio related, that kind of thing, no, it's just creating a routine for yourself. I think that that's what it's all about. When somebody is feeling anxious, stressed, depressed, a lot of times it comes to asking the simple question, which is, well, what's your day to day like? What's your structure like? What's your routine like? And if there isn't one, then a big answer is right there. Well, this is probably why you're feeling insignificant and not good about yourself or not good about life, is because you haven't found or created the structure for yourself yet to start feeling good. And human beings are meant to be creatures of habit and creatures of structure. And so therefore create one for yourself. And there's not always like a right thing to throw in there. I think exercise is an easy one. I think it makes sense because it does release feel good chemicals that are going to help you feel good about yourself. So I think, boom, right there is one. But anything that's going to be something that you have planned, that you can look forward to, that you can get better and better at and create goals within, I think that right there helps a lot. And
Do you
then
believe that the mental clarity from working out translates to other areas of life, like relationship, work, spiritual growth? Do you think that the clarity you get from working out helps you in all areas?
I don't know. I'll tell you why I don't know if I like want to jump right into saying yes on that. It sounds like it would be very nice to say yes to, but I know plenty of people who work out in their life who have shitty relationships. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if one thing, I think that, listen, the way that I see it is that I used to think like I did very little boxing. I had a trainer who helped me with boxing and stuff, and I said to him, if I start running or on the treadmill or running outside, will that help me with my cardio? Will that help me with this or that? He's like, those things might help a little bit, but the way to get good at something is to work on that particular thing. If you want to be a better boxer, box more, spar more, be in the ring. If you want to be better at rowing, row. And what I say about that is like, if you want to be better at your relationship with somebody, you got to work on that relationship with somebody. If you want to get better at working out or particular movements or exercises, then focus specifically on those. So I don't think they translate. I think that when you let out energy, which we all have, and you let it out in a productive way, then the likelihood of it coming out in a non-productive or destructive way is less. So therefore, it is good to let energy out. I mean, we all, if we're anxious or pent up, it's like, let that energy out by working out, not by yelling at your girl, and that can definitely help settle you down and help settle your nerves and stuff.
But there are some things too on the flip side that, like, if you want to work on, you don't directly work on it. Like, for example, like if somebody came to me and they said, I'm miserable, how do I work on my happiness? I wouldn't say to think about your happiness more. I would say to
No.
think about other people's happiness, work on spiritual growth, and that's the end result. You're
Yeah.
happy. That's not the direct thing you work on. That's the
That's
end
part of it.
result.
But there's one thing that is a little that I would say I give advice on when somebody says, I want to be happier. How do I do that? Is I ask them the question of, what does a happier you look like? And what would a happier you be doing? And then they would name a few things that a happy version of themselves has done or they could see themselves doing. And then I'd say, well, then even if you don't feel the happiness right now, go do those things because you need to put yourself in a position that you know that if a happy you would be doing, this is what it would be. And so if that's like, when I'm at my happiest, I'm working out, I'm eating right, I'm doing this, it's like, well, you're answering your question. If that's what a happy you is, then start doing those things. You're only
That's a good point too, because when you're doing those things, you're not constantly evaluating how happy you are. because you're
Right.
you're doing things. You're busy.
Yeah. Well, that's always a danger. It's like, man, that question of like a word that you point at and you say, am I this? It's semantic. It's like, don't go by a word to try to define if you are that. Like, I had a client who's like, he's very young, but he's in a relationship, and he told they recently said they love each other. We're talking early teens here. And he's like, but I don't know if I actually love her. I said, well, don't get so. And he's like, I'm anxious. I get in my head, like, do I love her? Do I love her? And you're getting so hung up on this word, love. And you got to say, I'm done using this word to keep me in my head. Think about the symptoms of what the relationship is giving you. You're enjoying being around her. She makes you a better version of yourself, you've told me. You rise to occasions and strive to like bring her smiles on her face. All these things. It's like,
Yeah, like you don't have to know if you love her or
you
not.
don't need
It's
to know.
okay. It's okay just to enjoy the relationship and let yourself.
Because you're seeing that the relationship is enjoyable to you.
Right,
So
it's
don't get.
bringing value to your life. You can just let yourself enjoy it. You don't need to know whether you love her or not.
So, and you were just saying about
Happiness.
happiness, right? It's like, okay, are you laughing? Are you
Yeah,
enjoying?
yeah, exactly. Like if somebody like came to me and said like, "Ari, are you happy?" I would think about it and be like, "Yeah, I'm happy." But other than someone direct, I never think about if I'm happy or not.
No,
I've
it's not an.
never. It's not something goes through my day. Are you happy? Because
Well, it's meant to trick it. Honestly, a lot of these one word things are they end up tripping people up, and they get hung up.
they put a lot of weight on
They
whether
put
they're happy. They get
way
caught
too
up.
much weight on it,
Yeah,
and
how
it's like,
happy am I?
go by the symptoms, go by the things that you're experiencing, and then you can evaluate based on those symptoms, what do I want to change. It's like labels in general. I don't like. It sounds like whether they're good or bad. I don't like labels when people say they're bipolar. I don't like labels of people saying, I mean, depressed is obviously a word that's been very watered down. Traumatized is like a hugely what. I have
How about
PTSD.
racist?
Oh, okay. Well, okay. I wasn't. I don't know where all this is coming from.
ADD.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And so it's like, just take the symptoms and let's work on those. If you have things to work on, let's list them out and go from there. We don't need to label it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of amazing. There's a lot of people in sobriety who have all these what do they call it? Coexisting condition. What are they called?
Comorbidities.
That's what it's called?
Something that you're saying that they have something else in
Yeah,
conjunction
they
with.
used to there used to be a name for it that rehabs would say that they're deal with like a secondary whatever.
Yes, that's
It
it. Is.
wasn't comorbidity, but maybe that's what they say
It's a
now.
secondary
Yeah.
diagnosis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, all that. And it's amazing when people get sober and start living the 12 steps and how much of that stuff just clears up and
Mm,
straightens up, you
yeah.
know.
Yeah. Well, certain thing I will say, like somebody who has, I won't say has borderline personality or bipolar, but at least holds a lot of the symptoms of them. Those are rough, and those do often lead people to drug abuse.
They lead people to drug abuse.
Yes, I would say that in order to cope with a lot of their symptoms, they end up abusing drugs, and it ends up all it ends up doing really is worsening the rest of the symptoms. But man, it's brutal. High mood fluctuations, highs and lows, attachment issues with other people in their lives, anger. It is wild. Those are not made up. People who have
I don't think they're made up. I think they have those issues.
right.
I
Yeah.
don't know the core of the problem and why they have them. I can't
Yeah.
figure that out.
Well,
I just
a lot of those things are hereditary. It's not uncommon if you have somebody who is uh, bipolar. Let's say they have manic episodes or highs and lows. you're finding somebody else in your family who exemplified those
Really?
symptoms as well. Yeah, very common. So whether it's just somebody's aunt or uncle, whatever, it's like it's in that family a lot.
So there's no way to break the cycle. You're going to pass that down?
I don't know how that works. I don't know how like if somebody has it, if how high the likelihood is. I mean, there's for sure a statistic out there that your kid is going to have it as well. I don't know, but I got to imagine it is higher. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sucks. It sucks. That's a really rough one for sure. I've seen multiple family members with those kinds of symptoms, and it's pretty tough. So
Yeah, when you come from craziness.
yeah. No doubt. No
I
doubt.
mean, it really.
You're going to learn it more. You're going to learn it and see it more, but you're also having the biological issue of it as well.
Yeah. I mean, I could see it clear as day when people just act a certain way and you see their family and what they come from, and they're like, oh, that makes sense. Freaking look at how they were raised. Look at what they're raised around. And people who do okay don't do okay. They do okay despite that.
Yeah,
like,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, I say it's amazing. I wish it was more common, but I say it's amazing because it's unfortunately not that common that happens. That somebody comes out of a situation of like that kind of sickness. I mean, you might have a mom and dad who were dysfunctional and who didn't pay much attention to you or something. And it's great when somebody makes it out of that, but having parents who have like real mental illness and then becoming like a real, not just normal, but like a successful person out of that, it's pretty amazing.
Are you optimistic that RFK could do some positive stuff for the country with?
I hope that he's allowed to. We're going to see how powerful these people are, because it sounds like he's in a position where he's being told, hey, you're going to have your opportunity here to make some change. We'll see when it comes down to it if he's allowed.
I like how all the Pfizer and pharmaceutical stock plummeted the day that Trump
Interesting. I didn't know
hired him in. Oh yeah, it was like a big thing, dude. Like the stock just plummeted the day RFK Trump appointed him. It was kind of funny.
Yeah, it's amazing. Meanwhile, people still want to discredit and all that, but they're only taking things that they've heard in passing without actually looking at the stuff that this guy's talked about in interviews or anything like that.
Dude, big food is a freaking crazy big industry that, I mean,
it makes sense.
Markets like really harmful stuff to children constantly. And I mean, a bowl of sugar is a healthy cereal, and I mean, a healthy breakfast for a kid.
About ADHD, it's like, we're wondering where ADHD.
Yeah, the food coloring. There's dude, there's a lot of stuff in our food that we're being poisoned with, and if he could at least draw some attention to it and like let the masses know how big of a thing it is, maybe it could do some good.
Well, and then just basic testing of things just to see if there's correlations between one thing, A and B. People don't.
Weird to think that like people getting healthier, like exposing like big corporate like greed is like a conservative thing now. That's very odd. It's like, can't everybody get on board with that and bring?
Well, they assume that they've categorized people now, right? So like if you're one to say or to ask those questions, then you must be not respecting doctors and medical people up to this point and professionals. And it's like, no, what we're saying is there might be a more systematic thing that's gone on here where doctors are not given good information, They're not given accurate reports and studies all the time. And why? Because these studies have been done by people who are funding, or by organizations or companies who are funding them in order to get particular results, to keep certain medications out there, to keep certain food. It's horrible. So it's cool to ask questions. It's cool to investigate. We can't be afraid of that. We can't be. If we want to make progress in these areas, then we need to hold all these companies to very high standards and put pressure on them to be more transparent about things.
I would love to see some positive changes because even in my own home, like like I see what the girls eat and I see the packaging and what's marked as like a healthy looking thing. I look at the ingredients and I'm like, holy cow,
Yeah.
it's like, dang, man, like kids are the most precious thing freaking ever. And they're like developing, and aside from freaking like sticking them on amphetamines and Adderall and stuff, like the food alone is freaking toxic. It's like,
It sounds pretty clear when you say it out loud, like the issues that have recently been on the rise, ADHD, let's just throw that one out there,
mhm.
sound like they could very well be linked to nutritional issues.
I don't
Like
see
there's
how it's debatable.
more and more sugar in our diets than there ever have been.
Right.
There's more ADHD in our society than there ever has been. Could there be
Sugar and
more
other chemicals too.
and other chemicals? And it's like, why can't we?
And the screen time on top of that.
Yes, for
The
sure.
screen time and the food and just all the factors. And there's definitely some big changes that could be made. And we have to be willing to put the politics aside and freaking, I mean, dude, huge corporations are for profit. They're not for our best interest. I mean, it's just a fact. I mean, they're to turn a profit. So I'm optimistic. I think there could be some. I think it's cool to see that people are excited about health. That people want that. I think
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
to see
It is
that.
cool. Yep. We'll see what happens. We got about a month and a half to till there's a new administration, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Can't get worse.
Don't ever say that. It can
I don't
always
think
get
it's
worse.
gonna get.
I don't think it's going to.
No.
I just don't want to
I don't think this
assume.
administration's gonna get
No,
worse.
this one should no. I agree with that. That one's a tough one to get worse. Yeah.
So,
Cool.
anyway, so all is well. We've done another Maniaco podcast. Leave your comments. Let us know what you think. We have plenty more to come. God bless all of you. Hit the like button, and wishing you all a beautiful, blessed day. We're out.
All right.